All right, so it's a fake out. What is the market doing? Well, let's talk about it. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil. Keep technical analysis short and sweet. So let's get into it. The other day we were talking about Bitcoin hitting this line, that's the uptrend, and potentially getting a little bit of a bounce. What you could see with this one is it actually, if we go over to Prime, Prime had the similar structure before it broke that downtrend or started into a downtrend. So when we go into the 4 hour, I believe it may even be 4 hours on Prime, we see that it had the left shoulder, head, and the right shoulder. But comparing that to Bitcoin, the right shoulder is not as high as one would expect, but you could still consider this a potential head and shoulders pattern with a further decrease in price. It did have a nice little pop, which brought up the rest of the market. I'm actually going to be talking about Supra as well in this video, as requested by one of the followers. I don't know how to say that. Resistant tyranny, something like that. But going into quant, we are actually looking at, if you were in my signal channel, you have made your money back within this month easily. As we had entry at 75 down here before the first pop, we had consolidation where we were accumulating quant, and we had the nice little pop up from breaking that downward trend line, which just that push alone was 23%. I said we were following this downward wedge here, and whenever we broke out of that wedge, we had that nice bull candle. However, you could now consider this to be a double top. So if we're looking at this, ooh, that is all over the place. There's one, there's the other being a double top, which does have a bearish kind of signal. That is mainly based upon what Bitcoin is going to be doing next. Bitcoin, they say it could be decreasing in price, risk dropping down to 97,000, which is right where we have this green line placed, and you see these ghost candles playing out. However, once it hits that 97,000 with that quick drop, a little bit of consolidation, we can see an immediate support zone and pushing it back up to a new all-time high. So going over to Supra, we were requested to do this. Supra is trying to build some support on the bottom. However, it does have a lot of potential to move upwards, but there's not a whole bunch of information to be going off of this. We had the similar look whenever we were looking at XCN. I got into XCN way back in the day whenever it was first getting its first push up all the way back here in December of 2023. As you can see in the past, there's absolutely not a whole bunch to go off of except that a very high price to start with. So it was risky getting into this trade. However, the push up from this entry point right here at 0.00089 all the way up with the sell around 0.003, that's minus a zero, doesn't seem like a lot, but the profit that was made within this first pump on XCN was around 250%, and we waited for it to get a little bit of support here, and we saw it creating an upward trend. So we had another entry, I believe it was somewhere around here, 0.0016, with another around 110% increase, and a sell as it broke this trend line right here and then started a massive consolidation for a long period. I was watching heavily within this area on XCN, expecting this to be a little bit of resistance, as we see on this candle right here. It had that resistance, but then had a massive continuation upwards, just dominated the market with a 2,000% increase. We see that this is still forming in this downward wedge. It has not broken this trend line. It is still above the 200 EMA right here, this blue line. But it had some rejection with this upward trend line that it was breaking and falling downward into. We do want to see Bitcoin pick up for this to have more potential. However, consolidation is not bad, as it means it has more potential to have a stronger increase in price when it breaks this downward trend line. Supra, again, I'm not too enticed by it, as one I would like to compare Supra to is actually something I've been looking at, which is Compound. Compound is given a little bit more information on the potential profits that could be. You see that it's building some higher highs. It's at a fairly low point right now. Had this massive wick off here at 74, but it is building a little bit of support, testing this 200 EMA. We do want to see it hold above that 200 EMA, as we saw right here when it held above the 200 EMA. It had a massive push upwards. From the 200 EMA up is about 185%. But looking at compound with the information that we are given, I was trading this way back here in December as well, having an entry around $100, and its all-time high is around $915. So it being at its lowest point right now, it does have some major potential. We want to see some volume push up, some push above the 200 EMA. But comparing Supra to compound, Supra is very similar to XCN, which I believe has more potential than Supra itself. Keeping that in mind, there's also GRT that is similar to Supra, and we were looking at GRT in the past as well. GRT is trying to form that inverse head and shoulders and does give you a little bit more information of what could potentially be for the profit as compared to Supra. So GRT is also way up here around $2.90 from its current price being at 9 cents. A lot more potential. Comparing those, personally, I would invest in GRT or XCN over Supra, just given the information we are given. However, if this is testing as its bottom, it does have some pretty nice potential to be pushing up to the last high around a little over 70 to 100%. But looking at the Fibonacci retracement, if it were to hit its all-time high from here, that is around 1,600%, which is not bad. But keeping that in mind, reverting back to XCN, XCN has some major potential as well from its current price pushing up to its all-time high. I believe it was 18 cents. Let's get rid of all this stuff. Pushing from here to here is about 500%. So Supra does have a nice risk to reward ratio, but I believe 18 cents is its all-time high, so it's 1,000%. Supra still shows the potential to have a double what XCN can make. However, there's just not a whole bunch of information to be going off of to be investing a big bag into Supra compared to XCN or GRT. Quant, jumping back to Quant, we had that nice scalp. I said the other day I would do that retracement, and then it had that break of that downward trend line pushing up. Me personally, I scalped about $500,000 on that one bar and got out, and I'm waiting to see if there's any further retracement depending on what Bitcoin does. One I keep bringing up, and I keep want to bring this coin up is Torn or Tornado, a high of around $460, currently at $9, but still getting a lot of momentum, holding above the CM Guppy, holding above the 200 EMA, holding above this upward trend line. All of these are very good signs. And if we're looking at the 618 retracement from this point, 618 is about 179% potential increase when it does pop. But this, comparing it back to Quant, when it broke that downward trend line, as we see a major push up, this is very natural. It's healthy for the market to have that retracement so it doesn't get too far away from that 200 EMA and starts curving that slowly upwards to keep it as a healthy market. I did want to bring in White Rock as well. I talked about it having that major peak, a couple 100% within these couple of days, and I said it would have a retracement as it is. And we want to see it come a little bit closer into the CM Guppy before it start building support, maybe some consolidation sideways, and then eventually pushing upwards. But White Rock is BlackRock's token. Keeping that in mind, they own almost everything in the world, so it's definitely a good bet whenever the rulers of the world are making their own cryptocurrencies. It's going to be like buying Apple at pennies. So you could be a multimillionaire just buying the cheap stock of BlackRock's being White Rock. XRP XRP, I still believe, is forming out the inverse head and shoulders. We are entering the month of June where some major news is going to be happening. Even with Bitcoin looking like it's going to drop, it still can. But overall, XRP should be holding pretty strong on this trend line and pushing upwards. Also, I wanted to bring in Fetch and HBAR. Fetch switched over to something, I think it was called A token or something along those lines. But Fetch has some nice potential as well. When you're looking at the risk to reward ratio, where it's currently at 80 cents, high of $3. I believe this chart is messed up as well. It's not the all-time high being $3, but 334%. With the fib fan, it's trying to hold within this blue range, the 1-to-1. We could next see the push being over this 200 EMA, pushing up to this top band right here around $1.49. And H bar is another one to keep in mind, as well as XRP. H bar does have some nice potential to move upward. It is trying to build a little bit of support. We do want to see it hold above 18 cents before the next move upward, as well as holding above that 200 EMA. I believe that's it. Maybe LCX and Doge was actually looking pretty nice. LCX still not looking the best, trying to hold some support, still below the 200 EMA, low volume. Me personally, I'm still holding off on LCX. And XYO still in consolidation, still trying to build some support, still under 200 EMA. All these are not the best to be looking at. And then Doge had that retracement. It's holding this support zone, which is a fair value gap. We do want to see it push upwards, obviously, but with Bitcoin's retracement, we could see it drop a little bit further. The Fibonacci retracement from the bottom to the top, 618 is around 17 cents. The next stop would be 15 cents, but we could see some consolidation and pushing upwards. So that's it for today. All my reference links are in the link below for Coinbase free airdrop money, Grass free airdrop money. Mexi has the lowest trading fee platform where you can actually buy Torn or Tornado, but also Rollercoin is in the reference links below. That's it for today. The ones I am more bullish on at the moment, I'm currently looking at this bullish volume on Compound, which is looking very nice, and it does have a very nice all-time high. So Compound, Quant, XCN, more so Compound and Quant are what I am looking at for the more bullish potential. That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoy. I will see you on the next one.